Okay, we're going to do the numerology for 2021. If you add the 2, the 0, the 2, and the 1 together, you get the number 5. In numerology, the number 5 is associated with an asteroid which is named Chiron, and he's known as the wounded healer teacher. So 2021 is going to be a year that is about noticing the wound, noticing the process of healing that wound, and the lessons to be learned by that wound. We start 2021 with the feminine in a powerful and pivotal place with the number 5. Now, the number 5 is considered a feminine number. It's represented by the pentagram and has for thousands of years been associated with the mysteries of healing, teaching, and the feminine arts. In many traditions, this is the number of self-sacrifice. Often, healing requires us to let go of perceptions and beliefs that are causing more harm than good. It is the quest for someone to stand up and become a teacher and guide for the journey ahead. It is in the most positive sense, this number is about helping others, healing each other and the planet, and recognizing that to make big shifts, we need to work together. In the negative, this number will trigger some to move into selfish resistance and refuse to change. Stubbornness is the way they intend to hold on to power and feel strong in a rapidly changing world. And this number is one of great change. It is considered a secondary foundation change year. It is a year where you recognize that you must find stable ground upon which to build your new reality. All things that have promoted instability are released to their own pathway and lessons. We reach beyond the known and focus instead on the intuitive powers and mysteries that are ruled by the feminine. This year shifts us off the desperate struggle to find balance and instead makes us focus on our beloved Earth. The Divine Feminine has been teaching us some hard lessons in 2020, especially those that showed up how we have taken way too much advantage of the Earth and have destroyed things that are essential for life on this planet. Now the Feminine takes back the power that rightfully belongs to her. She is showing us that our choices that have been dense and dangerous are no longer going to be tolerated. They have been out of alignment with the higher values of consciousness that humanity is supposed to embrace. This number will help us reclaim our stewardship role in protecting and stabilizing this planet rather than the old barbaric ways of ownership, destruction, and using up the essential resources that keep us alive. The number 5 year is also called a health crisis year, and while COVID has made that blatantly obvious, we are noticing the struggles on a daily physical level that we have to adapt and deal with. While 2020 was a tremendous struggle, we are clearly not out of the woods just yet. I do believe that a vaccine will be more available to the masses from June 2021 forward, and that is a very good thing. But I also believe that we may never completely get rid of COVID, just like the flu, and we will get a flu and a COVID shot each year until we reach some point when I do believe it will disappear of its own accord. I think this disease is a wake-up call for the survival of the planet, and when the planet is in better balance, this disease will seem to evaporate. The number 5 has always been associated with the ephemeral energy of ether. We have the 5 elements: air, earth, water, fire, and ether. But when they all merge together and create a unique shift in the perspectives of life, they merge and they become ether. The number 5 tries to be the union of odd and even. 3 plus 2 equals 5. It is the number of the wounds that Christ suffered on the cross. To the Brahman, they speak of the 5 attributes of men: form, perception, consciousness, action, and knowledge. This number aligns with the 5th month, May, and as such is associated with the astrological sign of Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the goddess of love, compassion, negotiation, and diplomacy. You will see a passionate and powerful turn out of the lies, out of the lies and deceptions of the past few years, and into a grounded and more practical approach that is intended to promote unification rather than separation. This number is directly connected to the Greek god Chiron, the wounded healer teacher in ancient mythology. He teaches that all seekers must find wisdom through personal experience. So, if you don't mind, bear with me a while I tell the story of Chiron so you can associate this with the year 2021. Chiron was a centaur and an immortal who lived on Olympus. The story says that he left Mount Olympus in order to help humanity. When the other gods on Olympus heard, they had to find a way to stop him. If Chiron went down to Earth and began helping humans evolve, they might figure out how to become gods themselves. That was a bad idea. They had to stop him. But they knew they also could not kill a god. They decided to trick Hercules into shooting Chiron with a poisoned arrow that would kill a normal human, but it would just put a god into permanent pain. However, their plan backfired. Chiron now had a gaping wound in his hip that would never heal and realized the degree of human suffering that was happening on Earth. This gave him even more compassion for the people on Earth. He had to figure out how to heal himself. After all, he was a god, with the skills and attributes of a god, and if he could not figure out a way out of pain in the physical plane, then those poor humans would never find a way. He found that he had to balance 5 things, and when those 5 things were in balance, then the wound in his hip would heal. But if he was off at all in any of the 5 aspects, then the wound would break open and begin bleeding and causing pain. He had instant feedback from his body telling him that something in his energy or perspective was not correct. Because of this, over time, he became a great healer and teacher because people would come to him and ask him for help. And Chiron would take one look at him and he could read them like a book because he'd been through all the possible configurations of pain and suffering along his journey. He could tell them instantly what was wrong and what they could do to create change and healing for themselves. The 5 things that he had to have balance were, number 1, his head had to be in alignment with all other parts, and he had to be in agreement within his mind. Number 2, his heart had to be in agreement with all the decisions that he was making, as well as being worthwhile and helpful to the greater good. Number 3, his intention had to be clear and positive. An example would be if his intention was to get his own way. That would cause the situation to backfire him, as balance on Earth is not always about getting what you want. Number 4, his motivation had to be clear and positive. An example would be if his motivation was to get even or to seek revenge. This would cause the energy to backfire on him and he would be in pain again. Number 5, Earth energy had to be in alignment with Mother Nature. An example would be that he could not disrupt the natural order of life and death. What happened to Chiron was that he saw many people dying in a terrible winter one year. Chiron wanted to help, and so since he was the manifestor god, he tried to manifest spring early. He thought it would save lives, but what happened instead was it confused the plants and the animals, and it ended in a great famine. Through this, he learned that it was better to not fool with Mother Nature and allow the cycles of life and death to naturally happen. When he had all these points balanced, his life worked smoothly and his wounds healed, and he was in no pain. It should be clear from this story that this year we are Chiron, on a journey to heal ourselves, our world, and each other. It indicates that there might be a harsh wake-up call for humanity and that times can get tough. It also indicates that getting back to a simple life is something that causes us to connect in deeper and more meaningful ways with others. This is the number of comfort, and as such, that means food, sewing, and things that make a house, a home, and a family, a lineage of trust and cooperation. When we go through hard times with each other, deep issues arise that cause us to be more vulnerable and learn to communicate and cooperate in a better way. It is the difficult moments that break down the barriers of status, ego, and independence. In such times, we learn the importance of merging with others and doing something of meaning and value. We learn that we need each other and that working towards a unified whole is so much more fulfilling. So, this year, remember to not judge others harshly for their choices and decisions. Remember that we are all in this together. No one is immune to what is unfolding. This year requires everyone to pitch in and help in the manner that they are able. For some, this means to leap into the fight. For others, it means to protect and to care for your family first and to be considerate and helpful to neighbors and relatives. Know that none of us have all the answers. We are seeking to discover the new path it is presenting. It may feel like we are taking a machete through the jungle of our deepest and innermost fears. What will be clear is that this earth energy focused year, that things are about to get really real. Such moments, historically, require a great deal from each person. Effort will be required and many adjustments will need to be made. Know that each step is a big step and take great pride in the fact that you have made it to this moment in order to take a great leap into unknown places. Thanks, everyone.